We'll show you how to replace the battery in the iPhone 6. Let's begin by taking a look at our battery kit with the included tools. Again, we thank you for choosing ScandiTech. There's some details here in our brochure. So we'll go ahead and keep removing layers here. So here we have a tweezers for assisting with removing the battery and different parts of this procedure. Here we have a pentalobe screwdriver for removing the pentalobe screws in the bottom of your phone. Here we have a plastic pry tool. We have another plastic pry tool, spudger tool, to assist with removing connectors in different parts of our procedure today. Here we have a Phillips screwdriver for assisting with removing some of the internal screws. Here we have a suction tool for assisting with opening up the front screen. And here we have a battery designed for the iPhone 6 inside an electrostatic discharge safe plastic bag. So here's the battery. And here are the adhesive strips that hold down the battery inside the phone. Now that we've gotten ourselves familiar with all the tools, let's go ahead to the battery replacement itself. As with any hardware replacement, complications can arise, but if following this guide and our text guide with pictures, which can be found on our website, with patience we'll walk you through the process step by step. We recommend listening to the whole video without skipping any steps as we highlight potential difficulties. For the first step we want to do is we want to turn off our iPhone. So we'll push and hold the power button. Make sure to turn off your device all the way. Then we want to grab our phone, and using the pentalobe screwdriver we want to remove these two pentalobe screws in the bottom of the phone right here. So once this is loose, you can grab it and set it off to the side. Let's remove the second one. Grab that one, set it off to the side. If for some reason you can't grab the screw once it's loose, you can carefully grab it with the tweezers and pull it out of there. Next, what we want to do is grab our suction cup tool. You want to press this down as close to the home button as possible. You don't want to get on top of the home button or this tool won't seal very well. So press that down, make sure to get a good suction. I'm going to grab this and pull straight up. You can see it's starting to separate a little bit. Sometimes these come apart a little bit hard. Right on top of the headphone jack right here, there's a little notch in the plastic frame right here. You want to stick your pry tool in here very carefully. Just help work your way around. And as you can see right here is that little notch I was talking about. If for some reason this comes up too hard for your spudger tool, your plastic tool, then you can also use this tweezers right here, one side of the tweezers, and you can carefully go in here and pry up right here in the same notch. And then once you get it loose, then I would recommend using this plastic pry tool. And just make sure to work up both sides evenly as you go up, and as it lets loose then it'll slowly lift off like this. Once we know it's loose, we can remove this suction tool by pulling up on this little part right here. It releases it. Now the iPhone 6, there's no ribbon at the bottom of the phone here connecting the home button to the logic board, and the battery is held in place by two adhesive strips. So now once we have that loose, we can pull it up to about 90 degrees, don't go past that. Then our first step is going to be to use a Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to need to remove these two screws right here, holding this battery plate down. Now this screwdriver is magnetized so the screws come off with it, usually. Make sure to keep these screws in the right order so you know which way they go back together. Then we'll use the tweezers here or your fingernails or something and grab this plate. Set it down with your screws so you know exactly where that goes. Next we're going to take our plastic pry tool. We're going to disconnect this connector right here. So we need to remove this connector back out of the way here. Then we're going to gently set the LCD down, just let it rest on top. And we're going to grab our new battery, take it out of its plastic, and you can remove the stickers if you prefer. Then we're going to pull up the LCD again. Don't pull it past the 90 degrees. And we're going to set our new battery down on here and test it out. So reconnect your new battery and then just gently set the LCD screen down like this. Now we're going to power on the phone to test to see if the battery works or not. And as you can see, the battery's at 46%, so we're okay. Sometimes if your battery's completely discharged, it could take up to 15 minutes of charging before anything is indicated on the screen. It's safe to connect the charger to the phone even if it's not fully assembled. So just plug the phone in for a while, make sure the battery charges at least 3% before removing the charger, and then turn off the phone. So now that we've tested that out, what we're going to do is turn the phone back off. So next we'll just gently lift up the LCD again. Don't go past the 90 degrees. We're going to use our plastic pry tool. We're going to disconnect the battery right here and get our new battery out of the way. Now we have three options. We can keep holding the front assembly at a 90 degrees like this with one hand while proceeding to remove the battery with the other hand. This sequence is quite difficult as the battery is held in place by very strong adhesive, and one hand isn't usually enough to get the job done. So number two, you can use a book or a similar object to lean the screen against. I'm just going to use this for demonstration. But it's worth keeping in mind that in the upcoming steps it's difficult to keep the phone still. It can result in the front assembly moving around and you could tear these cables right here. You could also have a friend hold this for you while you do this procedure. The third step, and the one that we recommend, is to remove the front assembly altogether. This is usually the safest, although it is tricky sometimes to disconnect and reconnect the touch LCD and front camera proximity sensor cable. When they're disconnected and reconnected, there's always a small chance of damaging them or not connecting them properly. With this said, this step is by far the most common way, but it should be done with patience and a steady hand. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Phillips screwdriver again, and we're going to remove these 5 screws in this cover right here. Now it's very important that when you take these screws out, that you lay them out in the order that you take them out. That way you know how they go back together, because they all need to go back in the same spot where they came from. So let's go ahead and remove this screw. Next we'll remove this screw. There's no particular order, just to make sure that you put them in the right order when you take them out. So let's go ahead and remove that screw. Let's remove our 5th and final screw. Then we can just use our tweezers and grab the plate and move it out of here. Set it with your screws. Next we want to use a plastic pry tool here and just gently release these connectors right here. You can use your fingers if you want as well. I would just recommend using something non-metallic. That's why I recommend this plastic. So as you can see, there's 4 connectors here that we need to remove. They're all layered on top of each other as you work your way back. Then once those are loose, then the whole LCD screen comes out just like that. So next what I wanted to show you is this battery is held in by some strong adhesive strips. This is the ones that came in the kit, just to show you what they look like if you lay them on top of the battery. That's what's underneath the battery right now. So what we have to be careful of, there's a flex cable that runs under this battery right here for the volume buttons. So what we need to do in order to get these adhesive strips out, we need to heat this up. What we recommend is using like a hairdryer or heat gun or something like this, is what I'm going to use. So I recommend heating up on the backside and just heating up in this part right here. Don't heat down here because of the logic board is on here. And don't heat here because of the volume flex cable for the volume buttons. So you can heat from here over. And just heat it a little bit at a time. We're just going to try to soften the adhesive up a little bit. Once we get it heated up a little bit, what we're going to do is carefully use the top part of the tweezers right here. And we're going to go down in here and just pry up a little bit from the volume buttons over. We don't want to pry from the volume buttons on up because of the flex cable, and we don't want to pry over here on the side of the logic board because there's a lot of things that can be damaged right here. So we can only pry right here, and we're going to try to loosen that up a little bit. So next what we can do is use the tweezers and unfold these tabs here for the adhesive strips. So make sure that these pull tabs are unfolded here and loose and ready to go. So next when you go to heat this battery up from the backside with your hairdryer or heat gun, be careful that you don't blow your screws away on your workbench that you took out from all these internal parts here. Make sure that they don't blow away. Maybe use the hairdryer in a different location or something. Just a warning from previous experience. So then now that you've heated the backside up a little bit, then what you want to do is just get down in here, carefully try to pry this loose a little bit. Then what we want to try to do is grab onto these pull tabs right here. We want to do this one first. We want to try to grab it and pull. As we're pulling, we want to slip down around this corner right here. Just keep pulling till the whole thing comes out. So this whole thing can stretch really a lot. Next, I would recommend heating it up a little bit more for the second strip. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and try to get under the battery here and rock it a little more to help loosen that up for the second strip. Just be very careful. We want to grab our second strip, and as you can see, mine tore. It's quite common that these adhesive strips can tear like this. Sometimes we can carefully get in here with the tweezers and grab this to get a grip on it, pull out enough that I think I'm able to grab it with my fingers. So if at all possible, this is the easiest way to do if you can get it again. So what I would recommend, as quick as you can, get around the corner here again, just like you did with the other one. And just keep pulling it out. Then the battery is free to lift right out of there. So now it's time to reinstall the adhesive strips that came in the kit. So we're going to peel these off. So what we want to do is bend these up at a 90 degrees. And we just want to set them right down in there. Once you have them set in there, then you can peel this back. Then you want to grab your new battery and just set it right down in there. Press it down. Just kind of center it in the hole there the best you can. You only get one chance at that. And because they give you a little extra room all the way around, so just kind of try to center it in there the best. Then for now, we're not going to reconnect the battery. We're going to do that later. Next, what we want to do is grab the LCD screen. So you want to set it right down here, and you want to start with the first connector here and just set it right down in here. These connectors can be some of the trickiest to connect to date yet on these iPhones. Just be careful that these connectors are seated down properly. You can kind of hear them click right in. So we got number 1 in. Let's keep working our way down. Let's connect this one over here next. And then let's connect in number 4. So you can just kind of hear them snap in. Make sure they're seated properly. You can just be very careful. Don't push hard at all if it feels wrong. Just make sure that you're centered in the right spot before you push down. Next, while holding the screen at a 90 degrees, we want to grab our plate, set it down in here, pull the screen back far enough to give you a little slack. Now I would recommend to get the screw started on your screwdriver first because it's magnetic, it pretty much holds it. And I would recommend getting this middle one in here first. So you can put them in whatever order that you like. I'm going to start with this next corner one up here. And this corner one up here. Next this corner one here. Sometimes what you can do if you're doing this by yourself and you need to line this up, you can carefully hang on to the LCD screen with some of your other fingers and get these screws lined up on the tip of your screwdriver with your index finger and your thumb. And we'll just go ahead and get these all in. Now that those are all in, let's press this down and fold it. If it doesn't stay, that's okay. At least once it's folded, it'll be out of the way. Then let's go ahead and reconnect this battery right here. So reconnect your battery, make sure that this cable's tucked down in there nicely on the side. Next we want to grab the plate for the battery connector. Set it down on there. You want to grab the screw, make sure that they're in the right order. Grab your second screw, put it in, and we're all set to put the screen back on. So next, as we set our screen down carefully, I want to keep it about this far out at this point. And what we want to do is make sure that we get the top lined up in there, as it has to sit down in there first. Then once we know that the top is in correctly here, as you can see it's nice and tight, we can just keep working our way down, make sure that it's pushed down all the way down. We want to grab our pentalobe screws for the bottom here, set them in here. You can do this with your fingers if you like, but they are kind of tricky to hang on to. Set them down in here. And you're going to grab your pentalobe screwdriver. You want to put both screws back in. Just turn them in until they're snug, don't strip them out. Then we'll go ahead and turn our phone back